Atlanta is known around the world as the cradle of the civil rights movement, and in the summer of 1996, it lit a flame, one that connected Martin Luther King Jr.'s fight for justice with a new global push for disability rights. Before the crowds gathered, before the medals were won, the Paralympics were on the brink of a new era. And the moment that defined it all began at the King Center for Nonviolent Social Change. The Paralympic Flame was born from the fire that burns beside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s tomb, a symbolic bridge between two movements fighting for equality. His son Dexter King lighting the way.
I entrust this sacred flame to the 1996 Paralympic Games. May it burn brightly to remind each athlete and each spectator of the human rights legacy for which my father gave his life.
At the Atlanta History Center, that legacy lives on, with Paul Crater archiving it every step of the way. It's seen in goggles worn by five-time gold medalist Walter Wu, and in Blaze, the beloved Paralympic mascot born from Atlanta's own symbol of resilience, the phoenix that rose after the city burned in the Civil War.
There are a lot of parallels with the civil rights movement and the movement for people with disabilities, and that it was all about inclusion and allowing people to experience events and citizenship on an equal level.
The Atlanta Paralympic Games were the first games to be held in the U.S. after the Americans with Disabilities Act became law in 1990, marking the first major global sporting event to be built under this landmark legislation.
It was a game in which, disabilities, or which access for people with disabilities really took a step forward.
Atlanta didn't just host the Paralympics, it opened doors.
It was, especially beneficial in that the 1996 Olympic Games were the first games in America held after the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, passed in 1990. And so as a result, you had the main Olympic Stadium and other facilities that were constructed for the Olympic Games be compliant with those regulations, so that people with disabilities could easily maneuver inside the structures and go back and forth and have full access to the facilities just as everyone else did.
These games became the first to fully welcome athletes with both physical and developmental disabilities, and with a record-setting 3,000 competitors, they helped elevate disability rights to the world stage.
The Paralympic movement at that time was hitting its apex in terms of popularity and participation of the different events.
30 years later, these memories still burn bright, sparked by Atlanta's civil rights legacy and carried by athletes who proved the fight for equality never stops, it evolves. So as we're watching the Paralympics, we can think that connection back here. And you think about when they're talking about like ADA accessible, that's like Macaulay Aquatic Center that's still used every single day on Georgia Tech's campus. So it has continued for our city.